Hello Stampers! Thanks for joining me today. I have a card for you using the Beauty of Friendship stamp set, and I've created a golden tree in the forest out of that set, and I'm going to show you how to do Emboss Resist to create this scene. And let's see, I'll show you the Beauty of Friendship stamp set here. This is in Stampin' Up's annual catalog, and it has been around for a while, but it's a super great stamp set if you're interested in stamping trees, which I'm a tree hugger, so I just love this set and I've used it a lot. So we're going to be using this today. And we're also going to be using for our background panel. We have a background panel here that's embossed. And I used the Fern 3D embossing folder for this. And this is a new embossing folder, and it's just really pretty. So I'm going to use that today, and we're going to get going on our card today. And I'm going to use first a 2 3/4 by 4 1/4 basic white panel. You can find all the dimensions for this card down below this video. Just click show more and you'll see them listed down below. And you'll also find the links to all the products used, and those links will take you directly to my online store where you can shop 24/7. So we're going to start by stamping and embossing our leafy part of our tree, this part here. So I'm going to use Versamark for this, and I'm going to use gold embossing powder. So I'm going to start with the detailed part of this leafy part of the tree. There's 2 stamps for it. There's one that's more detailed and then one that's more flatter. We're going to start with the detailed one first, and I'm going to just load it with Versamark. My Versamark pad's kind of orange looking, but it doesn't matter since we're putting gold embossing powder on it. And I'm going to stamp this at the top of the panel, top center. Give it a good stamping. And then I'm going to heat emboss it using gold embossing powder. And I'm just going to knock off any powder that I see that strays. You could use your embossing buddy first, but I tend to always forget that step. So there I have my powder on, and I'm going to heat this up just until it turns gold. All right, so you can use it probably like this, but I decided to use the more solid stamp over top of it anyway. And I liked how it turned out because this detail part of the gold is more raised than when you put this other stamp over it. So you have like 2 layers, and it gives you more dimension in your tree's leaves there. So I'm just going to line that up and stamp it on. Give that a good stamping. And then I'm going to go back into this gold again. And get rid of any strays that you see. And we're going to heat that up just until it turns gold. So I don't know if you can see that on the screen, but there is, the detailed one is much more raised than the stamp that I just used when you emboss it over the detailed one. Okay, so there's that. Okay, now we're going to put some leaves in the background. So I have this little dotted stamp from the Beauty of Friendship stamp set, and I'm going to stamp it just a few times around in this background. And these are like leaves for the trees that are behind our large tree here. So I'm just adding some of those, and then I'm going to also add a bunch of them to the bottom of this scene. This is where our grass will be, or, you know, vegetation. This is the woods. So I'm just stamping a bunch of these, and I'm using Versamark for all of this. And you can see it because, probably see where I'm stamping at, because my stamp pad is kind of orange instead of a brand new one. So I'm going to emboss these images now. So some over the bottom. And then these images up here I want to grab. Boy, I just made a mess out of that embossing powder. Okay, so now I have those, and I'm going to go ahead and emboss these and heat them. So that was gold embossing powder again. Okay, so that is it for the embossing part of this project. So I'm going to put my embossing powder up. And my Versamark. All right. So now I'm going to put my trees in the background for this project. And so I'm going to just use direct-to-paper for this. And I'm going to start out with Sahara sand. And I'm going to use this short edge here, and I'm going to use it at the side with my ink pad tilted. And I'm going to just make streaks in the background, just long streaks. And these will look like my trees, my background trees. And you can turn your paper to make it look a little different here and there, and make it comfortable for you to make your streaks. So there are my trees for the background, and that was Sahara sand. And then I'm going to bring in some Balmy Blue, and I'm going to do that same technique. I'm going to use the short edge. And I'm going to add some Balmy Blue streaks here. I'm just using that edge of the ink pad. All right, and then I'm going to take a blending brush, and I'm going to blend this Balmy Blue over this background, just down to the bottom of the leafy part. Then I'm going to bring in some Pacific Point. I'm going to get a little darker in my sky here. And I'm leaving this light, like this is dark up here because of all the leaves from the trees. And I'm not covering all that Balmy Blue up. I just kind of come halfway on it. Okay, and then on the bottom I'm going to put early espresso, and I'm going to use a blending brush, and I'm just going to darken this where those dots are on the bottom. This is our ground area, and that makes those gold leaves for our foliage down here pop. Then I'm going to take a paper towel, and I just want to quickly just wipe over things. I'm not scrubbing, I'm just wiping things off, and that just wipes any ink that you have on your embossed images off of them. Okay, and now I just want to stamp my tree trunk. I want to get that in here. So here's the tree trunk, and I'm going to stamp it with Early Espresso. And I want to stamp it down kind of low so you can see the bottom branches for this image. Now see how it's on top of that embossing now? We don't want it on top, so we're going to just wipe those embossed images off. And don't smear your trunk, just make sure you're working on just the embossed part. And also down here at the bottom. And that throws that trunk behind your leaves. I just think that's magical when you do that. Okay, so next I'm just going to add, now on this I have edged my panels, this panel and this panel and my panel inside. I've edged with a Prismacolor metallic gold marker. And I'm going to show you how to do that. If you don't have one of these markers, you can definitely put gold foil sheet layers in here behind. I just found this easier than putting a bunch of layers on. So I'm going to edge mine in with this gold marker. But like I said, you could use gold layering paper, the foil paper from Stampin' Up. So when you use a marker, it has a broad tip on it, and I'm going to put my tip half on and half off, and I'm going to draw it down the side. And you're going to see there's a line on your scrap paper, and then the edge of your panel is edged. So I'm going to do that all the way around. And you can practice this on a scrap piece of paper. Once you get the hang of it, it's super easy. So there, I've got that all edged out. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. This panel is finished. And then we're going to work on this background panel. I cut two Balmy Blue panels that are 4 by 5.25. And one of them I put through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine using that fern 3D embossing folder. It's really pretty. I don't know if you can pick that design up on there. But we're going to make it come to life. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Pacific Point ink pad. I'm just going to do direct to paper over this to bring that design up front and center. So you just get it all over there. And I used a light touch for that because I really just want to do the part that's sticking up. Just so I have the design. All right, and next I'm going to take that Sahara sand and a blending brush, and I'm going to blend this on the edges. I'm using a circular motion here. This gives it like a patina look. I love that look. Isn't that pretty? That makes me happy. There we go. So that was Sahara sand. And now I want to just edge that panel with the gold just so it matches up with my main panel. Remember, half on and half off, and then just draw it straight down the cardstock. Look how pretty that is, all edged out. Okay, now we're going to start putting our card together, and I want some ribbon on this panel here. I'm going to switch my scrap paper over to a clean side. There we go. Now I have some great gold ribbon here, and this is the satin edged gold ribbon from Stampin' Up, and I'm just going to take a length of this to go across the top. Yep, pulled a thread there. There we go. I'm going to put about a third of the way down. Flip it over. I'm going to adhere the ends to the back just with some mini glue dots. There we go. Straighten that up. There we go, and you really want to press that ribbon into those dots in the back. Once you have that ribbon on, we're going to bring in a early Espresso card base here, and it's 5.5 by 8.5. I folded it in half for my quarter card. Inside I have that other Balmy Blue panel that's 4 by 5.25, and I had edged that with gold also. And on the front I'm going to put my embossed panel. I'm just going to add this on with my multi-purpose glue. You use whatever adhesive you love. And I go right over that ribbon with my adhesive. Just kind of holds things in place a bit. Put this on the front, center it up. I'm going to flip it over and give it a rub here. There we go. That is just, I just think that's stunning, that fern embossing folder. All right, so I'm going to pop this up with Stampin' Dimensionals. You don't have to pop this up, but I just think it looks better. If you don't want that added bulk when you're mailing things, you certainly don't have to pop things up. All right, so I'm going to put this over to the right side here. And I kind of put it on, give it a check, and then I press down on it. That way, if you don't have it on straight, you have a chance to take it off without tearing your cardstock. All right, now we just need a bow. So I'm going to get another piece of that gold ribbon. I'm going to slide it under that piece that we put on earlier. And I'm just going to tie my bow. This ribbon is easy to tie. All right. So I'm just going to make a little bow here and give these a trim. And there is our finished card for today. I hope you enjoyed this project and that you've learned something and you're inspired to get those inks out today. Thanks for joining me. Take care. Bye.